So, my name is Jeff Hangartner, Bulletproof Outlaws. Check out my stuff if you want. I'm doing game development and documenting it as I go. I just wanted to show this program called FreeMind off. I have to do a lot of game design brainstorming right now, specifically enemy design and how they're going to behave, what they're going to look like. I gotta cover a bunch of shit, but I wanted to show this program off and show how mind mapping can be really useful for spitting down ideas and fleshing them out really, really fast. Um, when you do a drawing, you tend to start out with a little thumbnail sketch, and then you take that and you turn it into a rough drawing. Then you take that rough drawing and you trace it in pencil and clean it up. Then you take that and you ink it, and you get really nice clean lines. And then you take that inked version and you fill in the colors and everything, and you have your final product. So the way I like to work in this is kind of similar. I never used mind mapping before. I've never been really big on uh, planning, which just sounds terrible, I guess. But I don't know. I never really wanted to slow down and try these, 7 little tricks to help you be more creative things. But I found mind mapping just really resonated well for me, and it's how I do a lot of my long blog articles and stuff like that. Come up with a lot of design ideas. If I was writing a novel or even a short story, I would flesh out a lot of it here, and I'll probably record a little bit more when I'm fleshing out dialogue and cutscenes and plot stuff later, because I think it's just an interesting process. But so here I've got brand new mind map. You start, it gives you a little circle like here, and what I like about FreeMind here is you can use a lot of hotkeys. So a lot of it can be done just with the insert key, enter, arrow keys, and I'm just going to show you that as I go. So, got ourselves a new mind map here, and I'm going to hit the insert button, and I'm going to set up enemies. That's what we're going to work on today. Now, if I was doing other stuff, I'd have, say, characters, background, actually I'd have like levels, and then under that, if I hit insert, it'll drop another level down. You could say background, what else could be in level? Music, this kind of thing, right? But right now we're just going to focus on enemy. So, hitting, by default, everything's just one color, but I like to spice it up by hitting buttons here under physical style. You can set up different colors for the different buttons here, but I have one that's larger topic, F9, which just brightens things up a bit. So, for enemies, I know that I'm going to have 2 types of enemies. So, hitting the insert key, I get another node here, and I'm going to have standard enemies. And I do the arrow keys, go back, insert again, and I'm going to have bosses. Those are the 2 types that we're going to have. Under the standard enemies, I have a few ideas in mind. I'm going to flesh this out entirely later on, because I can't talk and think at the same time. But I just wanted to show the process here. So standard, we're going to have, I want to have a guy that shoots just a rapid fire machine gun bullet. So he's going to be called just rapid. Another one I want to have is a guy with a charging laser shot. I have laser. And I want to have a guy that blocks everything that you do. He's got, it's like Final Fantasy, where they switch modes from, don't attack him when he's in this mode or something battle happens. So that guy's just going to be called Shield. And what I like about mind mapping, and especially just using this program here, is it's very quick to jump around. So maybe when I typed the word shield here, that gave me an idea for a boss where I want to have a similar thing but souped up. So maybe the shield guy is going to just have a mode where you can't hit him and a mode where you can hit him, but I want to have a boss that builds off that, and when you hit him in the wrong mode, he's actually going to hit you back twice as hard or something, right? So I'm just going to make a boss called Defender, just to give him a different name, and I'm going to have a boss that is really agile, and it's going to call him Dodger. Now, if I grab the left side here, I can spread things out a little bit just for ease of clarity. And at any point, I can click these and I can close them up. So if I was working on another section, I could just close up the enemies thing entirely, bring it out, and just work on the specific one I want to work on. And I like that because when you're starting a new project and you have, characters and over here and items and weapons, and this has blah blah down here. You get a whole bunch of stuff going on, and it's nice to be able to just go, okay, I'm gonna close all that up and ignore these things right now, and just focus on one thing. It really helps when you get into a huge project, because you could be going along this area, expanding into enemies, and you can get very, very deep with it, and then maybe you need to work on, items or backgrounds or something. You write out some enemies, and you're like, all right, what background would be good for these enemies? So then you go way over to the background side, and you can just close this and not worry about it. So I find it's nice for just getting a lot of information out and drilling down into the specifics of what you want to do with it. So I'm going to take each of these guys and I want to fill out some features for them. So I'm going to start with appearance. Most important, obviously. Next is going to be I'm going to put in purpose, because I'm also kind of designing the theme of the game, because I don't have that figured out yet. And I want to have this be like the main character is going up against an army. So I want to say, I have this guy that fires a rapid machine gun. Well, what is his purpose within that army? Because that might influence the design a little bit, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I could even throw in personality. Some of this we don't use, but actually I think personality would be more for the bosses than for that guy. So maybe I'll leave it in there for now. We're going to have personality, and then we're going to have behavior. How does he behave? And then I'm going to have two modes in the game where they can react differently based on how much health they have left. So if they're damaged, which is going to be like 50% health, they're going to behave one way. And when they're almost dead, they're going to behave a different way. So, and that's going to allow me to have, it's probably going to be more in the bosses than these default enemies, because default enemies are going to have a lot less hit points. But I'm just going to throw it in here for now, because what I want to do is take all of this. Oops. I'm just going to color it nice. Oh, it's probably some nice way to do that. But I want to take all of these, and I'm going to just cut and paste them onto laser, and shield, defender, and dodger. So now, space these out a little bit. I have basically everything set up to fill in the blanks. And this is one of the things I like about this is it reduces the process of constructing something really big. It takes something really big and breaks it down into smaller, manageable tasks, which is like basic problem solving, right? Except we're going to do that on a creative level. So here, I don't want to even see these right now, and I'm going to touch the bosses. I'm just going to work on the rapid guy. So I'm going to say, okay, well, with the rapid guy, what's he going to do? Or what's he going to look like? So I'm going to hit insert, and I'm just going to jot down anything that comes to mind. It doesn't matter if it's going to get cut later. It doesn't matter if it's stupid. It doesn't matter if it's something that's just completely going to be thrown out. It's all I'm doing now is just spitballing ideas down, and then I can sort them later. So for appearance, I want this guy to be carrying a two-handed gun. I'm gonna have like a rifle. I pictured in my head. It's gonna be just a single enemy. He's not going to be like a group. He's not going to be carrying anything. He's not going to have, someone on his back throwing bombs or anything. Yeah, I don't really have any. I can give him some armor. Maybe. Helmet. I don't know, fuck it. Put helmet in there. And so this guy, I'm gonna go with his behavior, because that's all I really know right now, is that I want him to fire single shots. Actually, fire shots with a small interval. And his behavior is also going to have when it's like a harder version of him, he's going to fire more shots. So starts firing one shot, then in harder versions fire multiple shots. So the one guy's going to shoot one bullet, and the other's going to shoot 4 bullets at a time. And we're going to say, I don't really know anything else about him yet, so I'm going to say when he's almost dead, I'm going to have him just non-stop fire rapid shots. So he's going to get extremely hard at the end. Now, I don't have a lot filled in for him, and I don't really know what I want to do with him yet, but I have ideas for the shield guy that I kind of want to jot down. So with him, we're going to say, okay, his behavior, that's all we know so far, is he's going to have alternate between 2 modes, invincible and vulnerable. Now, when he's invincible and vulnerable, if shot while invincible, shot is destroyed, let's say. And if shot while vulnerable, takes damage. And to do that, to have 2 modes, it means he's going to need some kind of shield, right? So that tells me what I can fill in appearance. So has to carry some kind of shield or have armor that can be opened to reveal a weak spot. You'll notice none of this is very specific yet. It's just jot notes, and again, I might throw a lot of it out. Maybe he's going to carry a shield. Like, those are 2 totally different designs, carrying a shield or having armor. But it doesn't matter. I'm just throwing it down now, and then when I'm doing concept art drawing, I can go through this and I can try a bunch of different ideas and see what sticks and fits the guy. Now, because he's going to have a lot of heavy armor, that tells me that, maybe for this rapid fire guy, maybe I don't want him to have armor. Maybe he's going to just be no armor, wearing cloaks and robes. So he's going to be very low armored. And that tells me that, okay, well, maybe he's really agile because he doesn't have a lot of armor on. So under his behavior, let's say he changes tracks, because there's 3 tracks in the game, high, medium, and low, that he can switch between. In between shots. So he'll shoot, and then he'll change tracks, he'll shoot again. Then we'll say when he's damaged, maybe he changes tracks more frequently, so he starts dodging more. And, when he's dead, let's say he just stops changing tracks and just completely fires non-stop in this one track. But that makes sense, because you need to be able to get him, so let's just say, instead of this, we'll hit F2, and we can change this. He's going to fire, say, I don't know, fire single shots with small downtime between them. Fuck, does that even make sense? Let's say he fires 3 rounds at a time with increasingly smaller reload time. So over time, he's gonna shoot faster and faster. And now all of this stuff is, I don't have a clear idea of what everything is yet, but I'm fleshing it out. And for the laser guy, what's the other behavior I know I want? I want him to have a charge shot. So he's gonna take a while to charge up, then blast a huge laser that covers the entire track and instantly kills the player. Now, again, I might change that behavior as I go, but that's what I picture in my head, right? So this guy, because he's charging up, he's going to stay in one spot. We know we have armored stuff. We know I have non-armored, so I'm going to say the guy wears some armor, because he doesn't need to move very much. And because he's wearing armor and he doesn't need to move much, I can say the behavior changes tracks rarely. So he's going to have a really low percentage of when he changes track up. I don't really know what I want to do with any of that yet. Let's look at the bosses. And again, what I like about this whole setup is you can jump around very easily. So you don't get stuck, I gotta figure out what his personality is going to be for this guy, even though I don't have anything else in my game figured out. You could just jump over to this guy and say, you know what, let's throw Defender, since we kind of know what we want to do with the shield guy. Let's take the Defender and say his behavior is going to be similar. Alternate between, fuck it, let's just cut and paste. I'm lazy. And all invincible, shot is destroyed. Yeah, let's copy those two. Except here, shot is deflected back at player, forcing the player to dodge out of the track they originally attacked from. So now we've added a little bit of nuance here. So in a way, this guy, this normal standard enemy, is going to train the player to deal with the boss. So I may have a few levels of this guy, and then you run into the boss who plays similar, except you've learned how to defeat him, but he throws a little twist on you by attacking you back. So that's just, general learning curve, right? Teaching you how to play the game through the game instead of a tutorial that says, this guy, the way to defeat him is to do this, And again, I don't know anything here, but what I might start looking at is, okay, well, what is these guys' purpose? A shield and a defender. What's the difference between the two? Well, a shield guy might be, we know that he's going to be really armored and he's going to open up to reveal a weak spot. So what if he was something, carries prisoners and important people to destinations safely? So it's kind of like an armored vehicle, armored car or something, and then has a door that opens, and that is what reveals the weak spot, right? And but then I'm looking at this guy, and this guy's the boss version of this, right? So what if this, instead of this one being a vehicle, I'm going to cut and paste that. What if this one is a vehicle and this one is an individual? So this is like an escort. An escort prisoners and important people to the defender boss vehicle. So that would tell me that this is a vehicle, armored vehicle, with a door that opens, closes, and also tells me that this appearance, this is a larger box that comes up if you have a lot of text there, and you can get into it just by pressing Alt-Enter if you just want to work this way. But this is carrying a shield, armor that gets open. So let's say these guys carry shields, and just move them out of the way when they're going to be attacked. So these guys escort the prisoners to this thing, And now I'm just filling in random shit here as I go, making it up like on the spot. But because like I had no idea these two would be linked, aside from having similar abilities, but now visually I have a theme going. There's this, prisoners and stuff that get escorted to this large defender vehicle. And so that tells me that this would be a really large thing, which is appropriate for being a boss. And it makes sense that it would be more heavily armored. So already I'm fleshing out a lot of stuff that before I started filling this out, I had no idea what was going to happen, right? So now I can close all these guys up and say, let's look at this Dodger, because we haven't done anything with that yet. The Dodger is going to have a lot of mobility, and we know the Rapid guy has a lot of mobility. So we're going to do something kind of similar. His behavior is going to be based around mobility. So he just tracks frequently. And let's say, let's say he doesn't shoot. But because he doesn't shoot, let's say he spawns I want to say the rapid fire guys, but if the rapid fire guys are moving and the boss guy is moving, that's a lot of crazy shit going on. So let's say spawns just easy enemy. I'm just gonna say easy enemy for now and fill that in later because one of these standard guys would be like a grunt of some kind. Here let's just say grunt F9. Grab these, drop them on. Oops, shit. And, clear that out. Clear that. So we'll have a grunt, and he's gonna do something really simple. And you can actually, if you want to get super fucking fancy, you can take this node, and you can say insert, I believe, graphical link. Yeah, and you can do fancy stuff like that, but I too complicated. Makes these things fucking crazy looking. So anyway, here, so he doesn't shoot. He spawns some guys. You take care of those, and then you get him when he's when you can hit him here. And then we'll damage. Let's say he detects player's track and avoids it. So when he's hurting, he's just not gonna be in your track. And when he's almost dead, he's going to always, let's say he stays 2 tracks away from player whenever possible. So if the player is on the top track, he's going to be on the bottom track. If the player's on the bottom track, he'll be on the top. If he's in the middle, you randomly pick some shit. And that kind of gives us some ideas for the personality. Now, the Dodger is going to have no armor. As we've established, shit that moves a lot won't be carrying heavy armor. So we're going to say wears cloth robes. You know what? Maybe this one's going to be like a ninja sort of thing. So I'm going to say ninja-esque. And ninja-esque we could break down. So we can take these things and we can break them down even further if we want to get more specific. So we could take ninja-esque and we can say, okay, well, what makes them ninja-esque? So we could say, wears a mask. What else would be good? Carry weapons because it doesn't use weapons, but let's say these guys all wear long flowing cloaks, so they look kind of cool, and I don't know, say they have a mystical glow to them. So now we're fleshing a lot of shit out where if I hadn't looked at this for, a month or something, I'd come up here and I've been working on background, all this other shit. I come to here and I'm like, okay, bosses, you know what does this defender guy, what does this dodger look like? Let's load this one out. Oh, okay, well, the appearance, they're ninja-esque, and they're gonna have these attributes to them, so I could be sketching and concepting up, and I could say, oh, it behaves like this. So when I'm coding, I'm gonna make sure, that I have these abilities. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up, is if you wanted to get even more intricate with what you're doing here, you could take these things and break them down into coding behaviors. So that you might look at this and you might go, say, coding, we'll just call it. And in here, what is all the code? What are all the coded abilities that this thing is going to need? So you're going to look at, they have, this is the appearance section is all art stuff, but changes tracks frequently under the behavior. You're going to need track changing mobility. And it doesn't shoot, so we know that's but it is an ability. Some of them can shoot, so shooting has to be possible. Spawning a grunt, so these things need to be able to spawn things. Detect the player's track, so we're going to say detect player's track. Stay 2 tracks away from player, so we're going to say avoid player. So these are some abilities that, just to make this guy, I know we're going to need. So we could take the defender here and say, okay, well, what does he need? You know what, let's take this one and move it to, oops, shit. Just, fuck it, put it in the middle here. Actually, you know what, let's drop it onto this side of things. So on the coding side, we're gonna sort everything out here. So let's say we've covered this guy, close him up, and I don't want to deal with these right now. So we're gonna look at this defender. And shit, that might be hard for you guys to read. So here, what else are we gonna need? Armored vehicle with a door that opens and closes. So it's gonna need to switch modes. Carries prisoners, alternate between 2 modes. So it's going to need to be able to turn its hit detection on and off, which is technically switch modes. Let's just keep it simple for now. So we're going to say invincibility, so it can turn that on and off. If shot while invincible, shot is deflected back at player, so it's going to need to deflect things. Deflect shot. Take damage. Obviously, it's take damage. That's standard. Clear up those guys. Bring out these ones. Grunt doesn't have anything. Start from the bottom here. Escort prisoners. Irrelevant. Alternate between 2 modes. Same thing. Shot while invincible. Destroy damage. So there's nothing that we really have to add into this coding section because it's all covered. Laser. Charge up, so we need shots to have a timer that can charge, so bullets can charge. Now for a rapid fire bullet, it might not charge at all, but for a laser, the point is I'm going to want to have a variable in there that I can tweak depending on the enemy. Changes tracks rarely, that's covered under track changing mobility. Rapid, I'm just going to shorten that. I don't know why that's bugging me. Track changes. Alright, that's all visual. First shots with a small interval. So there's got to be rounds of bullets. So bullet rounds, and let's just make it 2 things. Bullet intervals. So a round might be, a sequence of 5 shots or a sequence of 3 shots. But the interval between those rounds could be variable. So one might have almost no interval, a shotgun might have like a 5-second interval. And, you know, when you do the laser guy, he may have like a 10-second interval before he starts charging up again. Fire multiple shots, change tracks in between, change tracks more frequently, fire 3 rounds at a time, stops changing tracks. Okay, so that covers all these things over here. And that gives us, on the coding side, a list of things that, when we go back to our game engine, and we're creating our enemy AI behaviors, and even, you know, player behaviors and stuff, we can say, okay, what are the things we need that are going to be universal? We need track changing, or we need shooting. Under the category of shooting, we could even do these things, and we could say, you know, drop them onto the end of shooting here. And let's say we have spawning things, tech player tracks. So we could even make a category called movement, then track changing, tech player tracks, void player, and we could drop it all into movement. And another one would be health management, and that would be stuff like invincibility, taking damage. Okay, where'd those go? Alright, invincibility, take damage, drop those onto health here. Sorry, my mouse is acting up. I think it's because I'm recording with Fraps here. Spawn things and deflect shots. Those would just be, I don't know, put them in a miscellaneous category. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more that appear after that. But now you're looking at all this stuff where we fleshed out, you know, how would I use? There we go. That was control space, by the way. But now we fleshed out an entire huge chunk of this game in, you know, however many minutes or so. I wasn't checking actually. And to me, this is a lot faster and more efficient than doing this all, you know, mentally in my head or coding it as I go. It allows me to kind of work holistically. My art teacher back in high school used to say that you work on everything at once instead of zeroing in on just one part. And it lets me work from the very vague to the very specific. So the end result is just something that's a lot more fleshed out and a lot more coherent. Like I say, you know, these enemies relate to these enemies, the shield guy relates to that defender, and that's a connection that I never would have, well, I might have come up with it on my own, but it's something that just almost formed itself just by filling these things in. And again, here, when I go into the coding section, I've got a bunch of stuff. And you know what, if I wanted to get even more ridiculous with this, and there's no reason to do this except for, I guess, just an exercise, but I could say, you know, what kind of variables do I need for bullet interval? Do I need, you know, timer for intervals? And, I don't even know what I'm doing. But you know what I mean. You could set these things. Bullet rounds, you might want to say what types of bullets you have and stuff. And you can just really expand this out into a lot of shit. And some of it is, you know, as a programmer, you're just going to know how to do it. But I think it's really useful for creating something. And the other part with this is you could hand this to someone who's never seen your game before, and they could be looking at this and go, okay, well, you got enemies, standard. Oh, okay, you know, you could send this to an artist, and they could say, okay, well, he's got to carry a two-handed gun, no armor, he's wearing cloaks and robes, this guy wears armor, you know, what does this guy do? Has to carry a shield. Okay, well, that gives me some ideas, so that gives your artist, you know, clues on what they want to do with that. You can go to your programmer and send them some of this and say, look, this is what we got to make sure these things can do. And even then, if when you're designing this, you can be looking at this code reference and you can say, you know, this defender guy, his behavior, he has all these behaviors. What if I take, you know, detects player, what if I take invincibility? Oh, fuck, he already has that. What if I take spawning things and I add that to when he's almost dead, he's gonna spawn, you know, laser guys or something like that. And so you can kind of keep things coherent so that you're not creating a bunch of enemies with super unique behaviors that are gonna have you coding just a ton of special cases. You can kind of keep everything coherent. And yeah, that's all I really wanted to show off here. I found this really, really useful for breaking down large ideas, especially on a much larger game where you could have a lot of different sections that you have to fill in. When you first start out, everything seems really uh, daunting and scary because it's like, man, I have to figure, you know, what are the backgrounds going to look like? What's the theme here? What's the music going to be? But here you can be filling stuff in, and what I'll be doing later is I'll even have a section for, you know, plot, say, and in here I could have, you know, I would list, say, events for the game. So let's say, I'm just going to do this really quick here. But let's say key events you want to have bad guys show up. Just do some generic shit. Uh, you know, your dad is taken hostage. Uh, you save him, and then you save the galaxy, and then everyone's happy. All right. And if you're doing a short story or something, this might be, you know, the overall arc of your story, which is fucking terrible. But then you could say, okay, well, the bad guys show up, so what's involved in that? What are some of the key events of that? You know, first appearance of the main villain, and what else? They attack the hero's town, and specifically maybe the hero is scared, so they hide in a closet, uh, watching in terror. And then the dad is taken hostage, so what's involved in that? Let's say the hero sees dad taken, villain and have business from the past, so maybe they know each other. Let's say everyone's happy, and actually, let's say when everyone's happy, you find out that dad tells you about the villain and his history together, and you know you find out some interesting shit. You can take this even further, and I really like this because you're just drilling down over and over until you get into specifics. Sorry, like you'd say, okay, well, first appearance of the main villain, uh, you could describe how that looks, some of the key visual scenes, like if appears in front of the moon on a moonlit night, uh, and you know he gives a speech. Then he sends in his minions. But then you could say with a speech, you could start writing out, I've come to get my revenge. I'm looking for Hero's dad. And you could take this and just spread it out a bit more. But in doing all this, you're fleshing out this huge thing that a minute ago, you know, I had no idea what this was going to be, but now I've got kind of a coherent thing. And then I might say, like, you know what, maybe you want to save the galaxy before you save your dad. Maybe, you know, that just makes more sense. Oh, shit. Sorry, my mouse is glitching here. Alright, so you save the galaxy, and then you save him, and everyone's happy. Maybe the dad tells you the story when you save him. That makes more sense. And then everyone's happy. And so you can go through these things. And you could say, you know what, hero hides in the closet, sees his dad being taken, villain dad, business from the past. You could find this out in intro where your dad and hero are chilling. And just chilling. And you could drop that on there, and then you could say you find this out in the intro. And so it just makes a really easy way to jot down a bunch of shit and sort it out and get it figured in your head. And when I'm doing cutscenes and stuff, I'll go as far as writing out actual dialogue. And here I would say, give a speech, and then I might even do something like, here it says, you can try, but you'll never take me alive. And then the bad guy says, who said I wanted you alive? Oh, fuck, I'm so clever. And so here I could flesh out an actual full-out dialogue cutscene, and I'm not touching any of this, I'm not paying attention to any of this, but when at some point down the road, I'm going through my game and I'm doing up my cutscenes, I can come here and I can say, okay, well, what's involved in this? Oh, okay, he's going to do this, and literally you can get to the point where you're just cutting and pasting this stuff into it. And if you were writing a short story or something, you could do the same thing with your plot here. You could say, say something here, you're hiding in the closet. So you could write actual paragraph here, like, hero looked out through the crack in the door, terrified of things to come. He knew, oops, if the villain heard him, it would be the end of his peaceful, happy life. His dad stormed into the room. Suddenly, I'm not a great writer here. And stared the villain down. And now you've got a whole paragraph, and you could be like, get away from my house, you villain, he said with defiance in his eyes. And so now you've got a whole paragraph here, and you could flesh out a third story, and then theoretically in the end, you could just cut and paste all these paragraphs together into a final document and have yourself a nice little story. So I would use this for doing a lot of stuff, not just game design. And again, we're working on all this, and we haven't had to think about or touch the enemies, but when we do want to get back to it, it's all right here waiting for us. So, like I say, I just wanted to go through this and give you guys an idea, because this helped me immensely for fleshing out ideas. So, give it a go. It's called FreeMind. It's free. You just download it. I set up colors. Setting up colors is kind of a pain. It's under the preferences and stuff. But mess around with it and see what you get. And yeah, give it a try. Flesh something out. See what you think, and if it resonates with you and you find it useful, fucking go for it. Have at it. It's great. And that's it. Once again, this is Jeff Handgartner, Bulletproof Outlaws. Check out BP Outlaws on Twitter and bulletproofoutlaws.com. I'm documenting my game as I go, and I'll probably post a full version of this thing for my current game when I'm done it, and it should be pretty ridiculous looking. So, yeah, peace.